Hey everyone, this will be my second episode for my page Come Find Out, episode 2, and this episode will be a bit about myself, my past experiences, and how I reflect on them. Just a quick recap on what my aim is. One reason why I've started out this page is, as much as it's an outreach for everyone out there, it's also a way to journal my thoughts. I watch my videos, I see the things that I've posted, and I use it in a way to journal and grow and reflect on areas that I think that I need fixing. So in that sense, it definitely helps me out as well. And that I reckon is the main focus anyway to growing and becoming a stronger person. But when I say religion, just to quickly recap again, I'm not trying to play politics here. I'm not aiming it at anyone. These are just my own views and opinions. Right. Every person has their own way of trying to reach out. Every person out there online, every movement, every scholar, anyone out there that has a good intention of trying to reach out and do good, does it their own way, right? And in my previous episode, I spoke about arrogance. So we all have mistakes, and I'm trying to focus on my mistakes. We're not perfect, so I won't get into the politics of it, and I'll drop that and leave it behind me, and just try looking at the goods and the benefits of what everyone is trying to do. Because at the end of the day, I'm not here to compare. I'm not here to preach hate. I'm not here to put anyone down. I'm just here to express my views, and I know that there's mistakes, and there might be people that try putting me down today or in the future and criticize me as well. So that's normal. It's part of human life. We're not perfect. We all have mistakes. But yeah, clearing that up, I just want to focus more on growth. So our previous episode was on arrogance. This one will be a bit about myself, a bit about my experiences, and I want to focus this episode on drug use mainly. So I've been using drugs before in the past, specifically marijuana, weed, and the first thing I want to say, for all sorts of drug use, right, I haven't touched any other drugs. The first and foremost important thing is get off it. It does no good. It's definitely dangerous. I don't promote it. I don't recommend it in any way, right? That's my first view on it. But I do want to talk about it and try looking at ways to reach out to anyone, or to teach anyone as well, to learn why people do drugs. And it's, again, I'm the type of person that likes to reflect on myself every day, right? Every day is a new day, and if you wake up every day and you try fixing up what you think needs improvement. That's the best way to benefit yourself and to benefit for everyone around you. But the reason why I want to talk about drugs from my own life experiences is I want to narrow down on the topic of why people choose to do drugs, right? And when you look at someone who's chosen to take drugs to, calm themselves, I think the first reason why it starts is I don't believe that anyone one day wakes up and decides to say, today I feel like getting high. It never starts off like that with anyone. And the first step into why anyone would make the decision into thinking that they want to get high, as much as we know to say no to drugs and to not promote it and to look down on it and to criticize it, which is all fine. There's no issues with that. But there's a second part to it. I think that we need to focus on the environment around that person, and focus on other people's actions and behaviors into what may have caused that person to do drugs. Right? And I'll give you one example from my experience. This was a while back, a few years back, when I first started working at my own business. It was late night, and I rocked up in my car, parked it out the front, and I jumped out, and I see a 15-year-old, very young kid. He just jumped out onto the road, and in front of my business is about 4 lanes. It's about 80, the speed is about 80 kilometers. Luckily there wasn't too much traffic. He jumped out in front of the road, and I was surprised. I'm like, what's happening? But didn't really think too much into it, and I started walking towards him, and he's just screaming and shouting. As I got closer, I see this kid crying, and he's in tears, and he's screaming, saying, I wanna die, I wanna commit suicide. And there was a car coming down the road, but it was mainly empty. So I grab a hold of this kid, and back then I was a lot bigger. I was 120 kilos. And then I'm grabbing him by his kicking and moving around, and he's high on, I don't know what drugs he was using, but like completely gone, and he's just crying, in tears. Anyways, as I grab him and push him to the side, I was worried that he's going to, if I let go of him, he can't even stand straight though, right? And I know if I let go of him, I was worried that he's going to hit his head on the concrete and, have a brain injury. But I'm trying my best to get a hold of him, and the lesson that I'm trying to point out here, and it goes back onto my topic of why a person chooses to do drugs. There were a few people out, mind you, and I'm getting tired trying to hold him, trying to grab a hold of him, and everyone's watching. They're just staring and watching, and then I had to scream out to a few grown-ass men saying, call the ambulance. Why are you watching for? Call the ambulance and do something, and the ambulance took about 15-20 minutes to come. And I realized there that no one gave a shit. Even if you're seeing someone try to commit suicide in front of you, which it's not much, it's not busy. It's not like during the day where there's constant cars coming. But you've seen me hold him and you've seen me struggle, and I got tired because it was like 15-20 minutes, and you still decide to watch and not do anything. It just makes you realize how cold and cruel and evil the world can be at times, right? And as much as we like to focus on saying no, 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 but is anyone focusing for the people that don't do drugs? For the people that's never touched drugs in their life? I respect that. I do. I have the utmost respect for it. If anything, I applaud it. But it does not give anyone the right to judge, to see themselves above people that have chosen to do drugs. That's where I reckon the importance should be focused on as well. And this doesn't mean open up your arms to anyone that's choosing to do drugs and act out and become violent. No. What this means is not focusing on the problem and going back. Go back all the way to whenever you need to go back of that person you know, right? And ask yourself, when did this all start? Because for a 15-year-old, which is a very young age, and he was saying that his friend died, his closest friend died, and he doesn't want to live anymore. And it brings up one question. Why does a 15-year-old human being choose to decide that life isn't worth living anymore? That he doesn't want to be on this planet anymore, right? And he hasn't started full-time work yet. He hasn't even experienced anything in life yet. Like, if anything, life hasn't fully started for him. He's probably at school, or he might have dropped out. But 15 years, and that's it. That's enough for anyone to pull the plug and say, yeah, I'm done. So don't focus on the drugs, right? Go back. really think. So the video cut out, but yeah, continuing on our convo, go back as much as you can. And when you look truly at the root of the problem, you realize that it all starts from people's actions, from people's behaviors, from people's neglect, and then step by step, without anyone even realizing, without even the person that smokes or smokes the marijuana or does any sort of drug realizes, they didn't even know that they're heading towards that direction at times, and they find themselves one day choosing to take those drugs. And that's what I mean by the individual. Any individual doesn't one day wake up and say, yeah, out of the blue, today I'm going to get really, really high. So when you look around, everyone's okay in pointing fingers and saying, no, this is bad. Say no to drugs, say no to alcohol, say no to erratic behavior and crime and acting out. Okay, that's fine. That might be step one. But is anyone truly turning around and saying, I should look at myself? And that's even harder than criticizing anyone else. In the Quran, it says that the greater battle isn't physical. The greater man isn't who can show who's a bigger man. The greatest battle is inside. Right? And if you are of the group that chooses or has chosen to never ever touch a cigarette or any drugs, then your step 2 would be reflecting on your own actions and your behavior. But what I'm trying to emphasize and put importance on is the steps never end, right? Like today, if I've chosen to quit drugs and not touch anything, which I have, and I've chosen to focus on my religion, which I have. But the only difference is if I choose to put a full stop there, right, and say, yep, it's done. It's finished. Okay, let's say I've decided to say that. I can move on with my life and be like, anyone from now on, anyone that I see on the street, on social media, in person, Anyone I see that's drunk, uses drugs, I don't care. I've done the first step. I fixed myself up. I did what I can. What else do I have to do? What happens with that intention at times without even realizing, just the way the same person doesn't realize they end up in a life of drugs and crime until it's too late. I'm trying to preach to everyone and make everyone understand. And when I mean everyone, I mean audiences of all kinds. You could be an atheist, you could be a Christian, you could be a Muslim. I don't care. You could be against God. That's okay. And that's what I mean by everyone. Anyone out there that's watching it. What happens with that is then I'll start living a life where I think I am above that life. I'm above those people. And I could continue with that mindset. And then what will happen with that mindset is, over time, I'll get so used to it. And I'll start making myself believe and feed my own ego that, man, I left that life behind me. You know, drugs are bad. Why do people do drugs? I left it. It's been years or months or whatever, you know, like I could do it. Why can't they do it? Then I think to myself, how can I even make those statements and think in that way when I came out of that life, when I was there for years? And mind you, giving myself as an example, I was always on and off with marijuana. I haven't touched any other drugs. And to be, like, truth be told, most of the time I was fine. You don't realize that you're going to end up in prison. You don't plan on coming to that point, that edge, where you're hurting everyone around you, where you become a danger to society, where you become a danger to yourself. You don't. And I'm a pretty honest person in admitting all my mistakes, my flaws. And I take it day by day, right? Because it's a daily struggle. You have to take it 24 hours a day. So exactly same intention with my page as well. I'll wake up, I'll reflect on my last video, and I'll look at that video and try picking out where I could improve, where I could change, what I did wrong, what I think was arrogant, all ways to improve while still trying to stay true and preach. And that's a daily struggle. I don't wake up and continue on my wins that I have had, for example, for the last month, or for the last 2 years, or wherever it may be. Because if you wake up with that intention and try focusing on your wins, it's like climbing, the most basic example, it's like climbing a mountain, right? You could be at a very high position, like you could be climbing for months and years. And if you stop, doesn't mean your progress has ended. You're still at that same position in life. You've risen up to a certain position. You've grown. You've learned. You've gone through pain. You've gone through struggle. But why not think that I could do more, that I could go even further, that I could try bettering myself even further? And again, this isn't, I've lost everything in a way where I've hurt a lot of people around me. I currently don't have my license. Currently don't have a job. I have a criminal record. And financially I'm not that stable. But why should I be upset? I've learnt so much about myself, and I tell everyone as well, people that know me, and I'll say it here, going to prison, I've been there for 4 months, going to prison was the best thing that could have happened to me. Because I say outright, and the reason why I'm giving these examples is I'm not putting on a show for the camera. So if I say something here, it's something that I would have said to my friends, to my family, to everyone around me. Whatever I say and preach in person is who I am on camera as well. And I've told everyone, I'm like, it's the best thing that could have happened to me. Why? Because I was out of control. I was spiraling. I was a threat to myself. I was a threat to my family. I was a threat to society. And how can I ever sit here today and try to justify my actions or try to blame anyone else for it? It was all me. I did those actions. And I'm so thankful that I went to prison, because it honestly taught me so much. One example, I thought I was a big boy screaming at people. And mind you, my charges, I don't want to get too many detail into it, but my charges, and there's no lie in when I say this, my charges were probably the lowest in the whole prison, right? And even my lawyer straight up told me, saying, I changed lawyers, and when she first looked at my charges, she goes, you shouldn't even be in prison. She goes, if you had come to me, she goes, I would have worked a way around it. And because there's community corrections order and there's all these other stuff that you do before you even end up in prison. So I'm not trying to promote it saying, oh, I've been to prison. It's a disgusting place to be in. It's a place I never want to go back to. It's a place I wouldn't want anyone to end up in. And it happened, but everything happens for a reason. Going back onto my topic of drug use, for anyone out there that's using or not using, and we've already got the answer that's out there, it's pretty clear. Say no to drugs. But what causes that 15-year-old or me to think that it's okay to be that high on drugs, to be so aggressive and lose control? And surprisingly, you would see that it all starts from one word, one sentence. And the root of the problem is, unfortunately, people don't feel seen or heard. People feel like they're not appreciated. People feel like they're not loved. And when you speak to someone that's chosen to do drugs, when you actually speak to them, and again, this isn't for all. Yes, there's some people that really don't want to learn their lesson, and they're happy the way they are, and they promote it, and they put their chest high and say, yeah, I love drugs, and those aren't the type of people that I'm talking about. But for the ones that are hurting, for the ones that are going through pain, because the thing with weed and marijuana, it's a certain drug where you can go on about your day. You'll get so used to it, and I'm pretty sure it might be the same with other drugs as well, where over time you get so used to it and you continue your day and your errands and your interactions, where you feel sober, you feel normal. Yeah, so you feel sober, you feel like you can continue your everyday. But that's the most dangerous part, because now the drugs have become so normal where it's not killing the noises in your head, the pain, and it's not making you feel happy or numb anymore. And that's when it starts becoming even more dangerous. Because now you're on drugs and you feel sober. And then, without even you realizing, that's where the spiral comes into effect. I've been close to the edge twice using marijuana. And I first started when I was 15 years old. It was always on and off, on the weekends, here and there. At times I left it for a few months, or even up to a year, and then I got back onto it, and then I left it again. And there were two instances where, when I mean I've come to the edge, I came to the point where I was gonna lose my mind trying to figure out why. Why is this happening to me? Why am I going through this? And to connect it to religion, the religious side of this, to connect, and when I mean religion, to connect it to God and all faith. I wasn't praying for years, and I used to blame God. Not in the way where I would swear at him or hate him. I kept my heart open. I just said, there was that one statement I was left, that one line of faith that was left inside of me. No other practice as a Muslim, not praying, not fasting at times, just completely let go. Did whatever sin I wanted. And I don't want to focus too much into that, because I'm not trying to promote sin and drug use. It gets you nowhere. You think that it's happiness. You think that it's making you feel comfortable. It doesn't. But I had that one line of faith inside of me where I'm like, you know what? Whatever I did, I admit that it's wrong. I admit that it's a sin, and I know I shouldn't be doing it, and that's it. And I knew if I shut that last sentence, that last bit of faith, that last bit of spark inside of me, the voice that said you're doing wrong, I knew very well that if I started ignoring that as well, my heart would be sealed forever. And then it comes to a point of no return. And you see this outside in today's day and age, where when the topic of religion comes up, just even the sentence of any religion, you say God even, and you even try making one statement about it, and you'll see some people reacting in such a defensive way, where they'll even go as far as to say, I hate God, and they'll swear at God himself. Now, we can't know what's in people's hearts. We can't know everyone's true intentions. That's not for us to decide. But what we can do is ask why that person has chosen to make that statement. And unfortunately, when we get onto the path of religion, we don't realize how arrogant and blind we can be towards others that haven't felt that faith, that happiness, that peace that God has put into your heart. And just the way we're able to very clearly criticize the wrong actions, where it's clear cut, don't sin. Don't act that way, don't scream, don't disrespect, don't do drugs, respect your parents, respect society, stay away from this environment. Okay, those are very, very clear cut. Those are written, like they are ingrained into us very clearly, so deeply. Which is okay, fair enough. You should be. I'm not saying you shouldn't be. But what about the other side, where when anyone chooses to criticize religion, automatically there's a huge backlash and hate and disrespect, where you're shut down, and you're attacked, and you're silenced from anyone, from family, from friends. And that's the point that I'm trying to get back to with drug use as well. I'm trying to connect this whole story back to religion. If anyone is choosing to promote religion, then they have to choose the backlash that comes with it. They have to admit the backlash, the questions, the whys, and most importantly, they have to criticize themselves, and they have to look into their own actions. Just because, goes back to the example of climbing a mountain, just because you're at this position of the mountain and someone else is here, right? Basic example. No one is denying the fact that you're higher up in your choices in life. You went down a path where you've protected yourself from all evil and from the sins around you. No one's denying that. Everyone can see that. But what people are also seeing from, this is just a physical, just as an example. I'm not saying anyone is below or higher or above or anything like that, but what I felt is when I was at the bottom and I've chosen to live that life, I felt like, not all, but I felt like a lot of people were looking down on me. You know, like you look up physically, let's say, you're climbing the mountain, you look up, and if you see the person has achieved more and they look down on you and say, I'm up here because I prayed, because I believe in God, because I have faith, because I fear God and I don't sin, and they look down on you and give you these answers, you're automatically going to feel oppressed. You're going to feel unseen. You're going to feel judged. And it comes to such a time where, again, the example that I've given, if I put a full stop on my growth and I do the same and I look down, then that person, how am I helping that person that still hasn't been able to achieve that faith, that growth, and the struggles? Because I'm focusing on myself, and I feel proud of what I did. But when you pick up the Quran, and I read a bit of the Bible as well, and look, I'm no scholar, I'm no religious person, but these are just my views. When you actually pick up the book and the Quran, it heavily emphasizes that all affairs and everything, like all affairs of humans, are in God's control. If I say to myself, if I was at the bottom with all my sins and all my mistakes, and I wasn't practicing, yet God has chosen to get me out of that ditch, to, you know, literally give me metaphorically give me a hand and lift me up from that pit and put me up here and say, you're not done yet. I haven't lost my mind. I haven't lost my health. And I'm still alive. And the reason why I say I'm still alive is because when drugs come to such heavy use, and you hear it in the media and all over, people die from overdose. If you don't die from overdose, they do something really, really stupid. For example, driving high on drugs at really high speeds, and in an instant the car slips and you wrap around a tree and you're dead, and there's no coming back from that. Or they start committing crimes where it's not even, threats to kill or punching, or I'm not trying to say that these charges are anything to be taken lightly, but it goes all the way into murder and robbery and actually hurting someone. And I want to say to everyone that I've never thrown a punch, I've never hurt anyone in my life. I've never thrown a punch. I've never robbed anyone's house. I've never robbed a shop or a business. I've never attacked anyone. My charges were driving charges, IVOs, and threat to kill. So that's why I feel like I can talk and preach about these things. But you got to always see and understand. And that's why I'm thankful, because it could have been worse. It could have ended up with me actually physically hurting someone. And deeper and deeper and deeper. There's no end to it. And when you go into prison and you speak to people about whatever crime they've done, this isn't me judging. We all make mistakes. We're all human. Again, just because my crimes might be lower doesn't mean that I can suddenly see myself above anyone else that's committed heavier crimes. But there is one part to focus on. Anyone you ask on any criminal charges they've done, you'll see that it starts off with drug use. You'll see them saying that, I didn't know it was going to end up in that way. Not all, of course, but you'll understand and realize, and they say, they've themselves said it, saying, I didn't know it was going to be like that. I didn't plan it. And it happens in an instant. And that's for everything. You don't plan on waking up, doing drugs, next day doing crime, and then you're in prison. It doesn't happen back to back. In some cases, again, there's two sides to a story. Yes, some might choose to deliberately do it and not give up. That's fair enough. But what I'm trying to point at is there's a bigger problem here. There's a bigger focus that, the whole community and everyone needs to see. And it starts with change. Within yourself. And